Welcome and good morning or good afternoon if you're watching this video. It's a quick video on how to do the first three parts of the lab, a quick review from class. And so when you go into the course, you go down to Unit 1 in Section 107, you'll find the lab there. This is the assignment box, the information about the lab, and you can click on this link right here to download the lab. Make sure when you download the lab that there aren't any lines or dots on the graph. As you may have seen in an email I sent out for some of the classes, I had done a recording on how to do the graph and was drawing on the graph for the recording and forgot to erase it. So the lab that is currently up in the course and the one that I emailed out is the one that doesn't have any marks on it and the one you should use. Or you can just delete the lines and dots that I have on there and start over. They're not the real data points or trend line that should go on the graph. I was just making it up for the video. And so anyway, you could download the lab. And then if you open up the lab document, the first piece is the introduction you could read through. And basically what we need to figure out is, does temperature affect how high a ball can bounce? We know if you read through the introduction that gravity can affect the ball bounce, the material that the ball is made of can affect the bounce. We need to figure out if temperature can affect the bounce. And so again, the purpose statement at the bottom, the purpose of this lab is to determine how temperature affects the bounce height of bouncy balls. Let me see if I could... I guess not. I was going to see if I can open up this screen a little bit more in the recording, but I guess I can't. So let me see if I could just scooch it down maybe. There. Okay, so that's the introduction. And so again, let me go back. So that was the introduction and the purpose. Scroll down a little bit more and you'll see the instructions. If you go into the course in Unit 1, Section 107, page 5, you'll find the simulation where we're collecting our data from. So I'm going to share that with you now. I'll go back to the course, which I hope it's this one. Maybe it's this one. We'll see. This is my advisory session. So let me get back out and into our course. Right, so I'm going into content. I feel like I had it open. I don't know where it went. Here's the lab, and right above is the investigation. That's where we're going to collect our data. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to scroll over to page 5. I don't need to read through any of this. All I need to do is go straight to page 5. And that's the only page we're going to look at. Once we're there, you see the simulation. We have our 3 different temperature balls at the bottom. And if you read through this paragraph, it tells you 0 degrees Celsius. The ball with 1 stripe is 0 degrees Celsius. The ball with 2 stripes was 40 degrees Celsius. And the ball without any stripes is at room temperature 20 degrees Celsius. And so it's the same ball, it's the same type of ball, and we could tell the difference with the number of stripes that are on them. I also put the temperature and the number of stripes in the data table, so we'll take a look when we go back. Anyway, all we're going to do is pick up one of the balls, raise it to 70 centimeters, and we talked about error in class today, so it'll make a difference if you have the ball here so that 70 is in the middle of the ball, or if you have it here where 70 is at the top of the ball. We want to try to limit as much error as possible and put the bottom of the ball next to the 70. And then you're just going to drop it and see where the first bounce hits. So it looks like to me it went back up to close to 70, and you would record that into your data table. You're going to do 3 trials for each ball. So again, lift it up, drop, do 3 times, and then move to the next ball. All right, so I'm going to go back to the lab document. Here we go. So scrolling down, this is where we were. So we went into the course. We found the simulation on page 5. Let me go down and scroll some more. We have our hypothesis statement next. So this is the first place where you get points. And so we answer this question in class. It says, how does the temperature of a bouncy ball affect its bounce height? That's our question, right? We always start the scientific method with a question. And now we have to put it into hypothesis form in order to do our experiment, right? So we want to fill in the blank for the hypothesis this time. And let me see if I could scooch this over so that doesn't keep coming on the screen. Well, I can't really scooch it over any more than that. Oh, well. So we want to fill in the blank this time in the hopes that every time we do the lab, we do a little bit more. So maybe in the next lab, you could write the whole hypothesis on your own and so forth. And so in this case, we want to fill in temperature and bounce height. And so as we talked in class, temperature is what we're adjusting and bounce height is what we're measuring, right? And so in this case, temperature then would be our independent variable. And bounce height would be our dependent variable. So you want to make sure you're putting the right one on the line. So when you have a hypothesis statement, the independent variable comes first. So if the temperature of the bouncy ball increases, then the bounce height of the bouncy ball will increase. So I'll say that again. You want to fill in the blanks. It says if the temperature of the bouncy ball increases, then the bounce height of the bouncy ball will increase. So that's our hypothesis statement. You can fill in those two blanks, and that's 2 points. And then based on your hypothesis statement, now you can try to answer these 4 questions. And again, we did them together in class, so you could go back to that class recording maybe after you've done it to double check your work. But based on what we just did and what I just said, actually, you could write your independent variable, your dependent variable, think about what the control is. And in one of my classes, we came up actually with more than one control. So you could just write down one. If you come up with more than that, you can write that down too. And then what tool you're using in the lab. So if I scroll back up to look at the picture of the lab, you can see here there's only one tool in the picture, right? And so that's all you have to write down for number 4. All right, so I'm going to scroll back down. So we've done the hypotheses, the pre-lab questions, 1 point each. And then the third part I'd like you to work on while I'm out on Tuesday is your data table. And so you're again going to go into the course, find the simulation, choose one of the balls, raise it to 70 centimeters and drop it. And you're going to record the bounce height in the data table below. And you can see for this first row, this is the one stripe ball that's at 0 degrees Celsius. And so you're going to drop it the first time and write down what you got, the second time, the third time, and then you're going to take the average in the last column. And so the reason why I have these highlighted yellow is when we go to do the graph on Wednesday, those are the 2 columns that we're going to graph. So I wanted them to stand out. And so again, you're just going to repeat 3 trials for each of those temperatures and then average at the end. Up here I have it underlined. Be sure that the bottom of the ball is at the 70 centimeter mark, like I shared with you in the simulation, to try to avoid some error. You're going to repeat each one 3 times, record it. Make sure all of your numbers make sense, right? So remember in class, we looked at a data table where, all of the numbers look good and then one was kind of really high. And so if you see that one of your results doesn't quite make sense, redo that trial, right? Then once you have everything filled in, calculate the average, and that is it. So if you'd like to move on to the next piece of the lab, you can, but I was hoping you could get at least these first 3 parts through the data table for Wednesday, and then we'll pick up there together. So if you have any questions or need anything, please let me know.